Nice to see where you're all coming from. And John, I'm just getting us up on YouTube now, so you came back
All
right on
right.
time.
Hey, Lisa, I just saw it. Said Lisa's joining.
Perfect. Okay, so we are up on YouTube and we are all set on Zoom as well. So hey everybody, John's back. He's got his water.
Hey, everyone.
I'm going to go over a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll jump on in. We are going to cover some news today because obviously there's been some exciting news in the world of space. And I am going to correct myself from last week because I made a mistake on a double star. First, though, I want to promote a few things. We have our calendar, our 2021 Observers calendar and our 2021 Observers Handbook available for pre-order right now. I'll send you the link to that page. It's basically our store page. And I want to also clarify that if you are a RASC member already, you do not need to order the 2021 Observers Handbook. That comes with your membership, so that will be mailed to you automatically. But if you do want an observer's calendar, they are quite useful. You get a jump on the game. You get to see, it's essentially what I've created in the Google Calendar, although less specific, more general. So more things like when are the conjunctions, when are the lunar eclipses, when are the solar eclipses, that sort of stuff. But it allows you to plan.
This is the paper calendar that you hang on the wall, and you can put birthdays on it too. And
and you can even record if you want. You can record which days you went out observing, which is kind of a nice way to keep track of that. I don't know. I don't ever use calendars to remind me of stuff because I always forget to look at them. I always use calendars to keep track of what I did because that I always forget. I am just not very good at remembering things.
And then, so this is the one with the pictures too. So
it does. It has really pretty pictures too.
They're taken by RASC members, or where do the pictures come from?
I think they're taken by RASC members and then they're selected by a committee, as per most things. But yeah, so it's a lovely piece to hang on your wall, and it's lovely to remind you of observing and to remind you to go out and see stuff at night too. So definitely a good purchase. And as I say, pre-order, and then they'll be shipping soon. And a reminder as well for, again, RASC members do not need to order the Observer's Handbook. The calendar does not come with your membership, but the handbook does. So the handbook will have everything. It has the map of the moon. It has how to see comets, asteroids, small objects in space, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I use to plan this program. And that's what I use to take out with me on observing sessions. I don't have it handy because it's in my car. And it's definitely a worthwhile book if you are not a member.
Yeah, I use mine today because there's a really cool feature that I just discovered in the handbook. You look like you can open it up, you'll discover something new. So it has grazing occultations in it, and it has the map. I didn't know it had that. So every year they publish 200, and what you do is you look at the maps and you find one that crosses your location, and then when you go out it, you'll see a star go behind mountain ranges and blink in and out. So you basically just watch the moon for this 20-30 minute event, and you watch the star go between the mountain, like in, out, in, out, in, out.
That's very
cool. A really nerdy, cool thing to do. And that is page 174 in the handbook.
Look at you go. And the pages stay more or less consistent from year to year. The content just changes depending on the year. So nice one, John. I haven't gotten that good at using it yet. Take some practice. So we've got that. The other thing I want to mention too is that on Saturday, oh my goodness, is it Saturday this week? Saturday next week, on the 26th, it's International Observe the Moon Night, which means it's a good night to go out and observe the moon. We don't have any targets set up for that night, but I encourage you all to go out and take pictures. Canadian Space Agency does a lot of promo for this, and so take pictures and tag them and tag us and show us your views of the moon. And finally, I wanted to mention for the people out there who like to image, we have a contest going on RASC with RASC and Sky News. I'll just share my screen quickly so you can see it. We're releasing little sets of data from the robotic telescope. And so this month we have released the Helix Nebula, and we have it set up in a bunch of different formats. So if you're a hardcore astrophotographer, we have all of the calibration files and all of the light files, and you can do everything yourself. Or if you're brand new, we also have like 2 black and white pictures of the 2 different oxygen filtered image and the hydrogen filtered image that you can just smush together into a pretty picture like the one here. So I will share the link to that. If you would like to participate, you can win a RASC fanny pack, which I take with me observing.
That's fantastic.
I love the fanny pack. It keeps my,
Yeah.
it's how I keep my eyepieces organized. So I
That's
recommend.
brilliant. Yeah.
And it's lightweight and it's
I
red.
just
So
feel like I wear cargo pants, and so my pockets are just full of like eyepieces
go and shove your cargo
uh,
pants right in my face. All your pockets.
okay.
This is, I don't have
No,
pockets. Okay, and then the correction that I wanted to make last week, maybe I'll save that for in our actual using stellarium. We'll get to that. So then let's talk about news quickly. I'm sure you've all heard about, or maybe some of you have not, but last week the Royal Astronomical Society held a press conference, and one of our very own members, Sarah Seeger, spoke at it. And the press conference was to release the information that a particular molecule was found in the clouds of Venus that may possibly, that we only know to have originated from life. So what I mean by that is that this particle is called phosphine, and on Earth, the only way phosphine can be created naturally is by living things, humans, other creatures.
in theory.
In theory. So that's the thing. That's the only process we know, but Earth is very different from Venus. Now, we also know that phosphine can be created and exists in the clouds of Jupiter. Jupiter has very different conditions. And so it's possible that, so basically, we don't know. Phosphine is on Venus, which could mean either that there is life living in the clouds of Venus, which is the only real hospitable place on Venus. But it could also mean that there's just another process that we don't understand yet, because we barely understand how it even forms on Earth. So exciting news no matter what.
Yeah, I think the really exciting thing is that hopefully this news prompts more exploration of Venus, more missions to Venus. In the 70s, it was really popular. So the Russians landed several spacecraft on the surface. It's 1,000 degrees there. They only lasted 40 minutes, but they took photos and measurements and all this stuff. Another experiment that they did is they had balloons that would go into the atmosphere and they would float along, sending data back up. I think it worked. They sent data to a mothership and whatnot too. So that, I think, is an experiment that hypothetically you could get funding for it to repeat with this new discovery. And so that's something I really look forward to. Like, it would be neat to see more stuff going to Venus because the atmosphere there is a fascinating place.
Yeah, it is. It's
Anyway,
really cool in terms of, some people say it's the most hospitable place in our solar system after Earth.
Yeah,
that atmosphere.
So the reason is, like, on the surface, it's like 1,000 degrees and it's like being like 400 meters underwater or something, right? But as you go up, you can find a level in that atmosphere where the atmospheric pressure is equal to that of Earth, right? So somewhere between, deep under the ocean and the vacuum of space.
Mm-hmm.
So hypothetically, in our wonderful sci-fi world, we could put a dirigible or a blimp down there, and have a space station on Venus that you could go outside without a pressure suit. And the temperature and pressure would be thus that you'd be okay. Now, I don't know how that would work. Like, Venus has like 180 days, right? But I don't know.
Right, yeah, because it spins very slowly. But still, very exciting to think about, and certainly very cool discovery.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, a reminder from Katrina on YouTube that this is not the RASC that published this information. That was the Royal Astronomical Society, which is British, but still very exciting. Okay, this week's targets. We'll jump right in. I'm going to leave John to talk about the moon. We have a bunch of, oh wait, no, I forgot about the other two news things. Sorry, I was so excited about the life on Venus stuff. There's smoke in our skies from California, and someone on a non-astronomy related Facebook group posted this photo, which gives us an idea of where the smoke is. But now, John was saying the smoke has now reached Halifax, so this is probably out of date.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a little outdated.
Yeah.
So I went out to do some astrophotography, and the weather said it was supposed to be fine, and we were wondering why we couldn't see the stars. We could only see, like, we could see Jupiter, we could see Mars, and we can sort of see Saturn, but nothing else. And so it wasn't until we got home, I'm like, oh, it's the smoke. That we really realized, what was going on. And we ended up taking one photo of Saturn, and it was very, it had quite a red hue, and so that was interesting to see, to have like Saturn look like the color that Mars should be.
That's
And
wild.
Mars was just extra red.
So the reason that those two would appear red is the same reason that the sun appears red, which is the dust scatters the blue light out, so you don't see, or that blue end of the spectrum, so you don't see the other components of the light. You mostly see the red light. Same reason that at sunset, in general, the sky looks quite reddish, because there's a lot more light coming through the atmosphere than there is coming from straight overhead.
It's Rayleigh scattering. So it's a really cool science, because like if Carissa from York, who works on the Mars rover stuff, I think you introduced us at the last GA. So what she does is uses the same principle. So there's lots of dust in the Martian atmosphere, and we've got dust from forest fires. So what she does, there's dust in the Martian atmosphere. She can measure the size of the dust grains by the color of the sunlight, because of that scattering effect.
That's very cool.
Yeah, because the size of the dust grains scatter the light differently.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's amazing what we can know just from looking at stuff. That's just wild.
Yeah. Fascinating.
It's fascinating. So that's, if you're having trouble observing, that may be why. The skies have cleared here, but only just today. So we don't have any smoke right now. But it may be different. It may move around. I know observing's out for a lot of people on the West Coast right now. And I mean, there are a lot of people facing worse fates than not being able to see the stars. So there'll be stars later. Take care of yourselves. Okay. One last thing is that we have the fall equinox coming up, the autumn equinox, which is happening this year on September 22nd at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, or 1:30 UTC, which is the time over in Greenwich, more or less. That, don't come at me, time specific knowledge keepers. So I think it's Roy Bishop knows a ton about time, and UTC is not Greenwich Mean Time, but it's our like standard measure for time, so everything goes from there. Anyway, it'll change in your time zone. For the most part, it's on September 22nd, and what that means is, for equinox literally translates into equal nights, and so it's the day of the year as the sun moves from north to south in our sky that it's right over the equator. And so if it's right over the equator, then our night is exactly equal, our length of night is exactly equal to our length of day. And so after that, the nights will be longer up here on the Northern Hemisphere. The nights will be longer than the days. And then after the spring equinox, the days will be longer than the nights. So we're getting into nice, dark times for observing. Yeah, so that's the other thing that I want to mention too is, right around this time, it is listed as an extra target in Explore the Universe, but it's tricky. I don't know if you've ever seen it, John. Zodiacal light.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so is this the optimal? I guess this is my question, because I haven't read about it in a while. Is the equinox the best time to see zodiacal light?
It's not quite, so it doesn't exactly line up, but it's a good time because the ecliptic is so like vertical compared to the horizon. Mm-hmm. And that means that you get clearer views higher up in it. Now, what zodiacal light is when we're looking at the plane of our solar system, there's a lot of dust in that plane, the plane that the sun and the moon and the earth and they're all on. There's a lot of dust in that plane. So when the sun sets, you see light reflecting off the dust in that plane, which is very, very cool.
Yeah. So you have the Milky Way in one plane.
Yeah.
And then zodiacal light is in another. So it looks
like light pollution.
In my understanding, it looks like a big hump of like yellowish light pollution. Yeah. But you need really dark moonless. You need it's special to see, because it needs to be so dark. Yeah. Like no
and that's
moon,
the thing as
no
well.
Light pollution.
So the equinox is not necessarily the best time to see it, because there may be a full moon on the equinox. So you need it when there's no full moon. But around then, so it's around the equinox for about 4 weeks each year. So this 2-week chunk coming up, or like starting 2 days ago, is a good time to see it. And let me share with you a photo from my favorite astrophotographer, Michael Watson, one of the RASC board members, and his view of the zodiacal light. So that's that sort of triangle of light coming up from the sky. Bearing in mind, this was in outback Australia with no light around. So, and also for clarification, to see this in the fall, you have to get up early in the morning. It's only visible in the morning. And then in the spring, it's visible in the evening.
It's cool. Like I don't know a lot about zodiacal light, so this is good.
That's about all I know about zodiacal light, unfortunately. So if anyone has any extra info, feel free to toss it in the chat. It's tricky, and I would argue that it's not a beginner target, but it is listed in Explore the Universe. So if you see it, kudos to you, and let us know, because I have never seen it. So I'd be really curious to hear about it.
Yep.
Okay. That's it for news. On to the targets. We have a couple of days with specific targets this time. John's going to cover some of the lunar targets. We have 5. So we have 3 mares, which are good on the full moon on September 30th, October 1st, around then. And then we have 2 craters, which are good around the Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So 22nd, 23rd-ish.
Okay,
John, do you have?
Because there's new moon now, so we're going. Yeah. So I can. Do you have to enable my share? No, I can just share.
You can share.
Because I'm a presenter. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we're on about, what are we? Day 1 or day 2 now? The new moon just happened.
Day 2.
So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I clicked share screen. Okay. There we go. Share.
Let me check.
All right. So can everyone see? Well, can you see?
I can
see. 50 things to see on the moon.
Also, we are on day 0. It's the new moon today, just a heads up.
Oh, it's new moon today. Okay.
Yeah. Go observe, because it'll be nice and dark, except not the moon targets.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is from 50 Things to See on the Moon. And so here we have a binocular view of the moon. So if you're using different optics, and you're using this book, you'd hypothetically look at the mirror reverse view, or if I can go up just a little bit, or sort of a 180 rotation view if you're using a Newtonian telescope here. Okay, but we're just going to use binocular view.
What everyone knows.
Because, yeah, or this is I'm not using a telescope at all, but I have really good eyes view.
Ooh,
yeah.
Those are some extra crispy eyes.
Well, I mean, you can see quite a bit of this detail, and I've been testing it every time I see the full moon. I'm like, how much can you actually see without a telescope? And it makes me wonder, because I made a model. I don't have it on this computer, but I had taken a picture of the full moon, and then what I did is I used I overlaid computer software on it to do the supermoon and the micromoon.
Nice.
To see how much difference you could actually see, because there's a big debate. It's not a big debate, but I tend to say no, there's no noticeable difference between the supermoon and the micromoon. It's 30% brighter, but
I honestly don't know if I trust my eyes that much.
Yeah. But the more I look at this demo I made, so I took this photo and I added a supermoon and I added a micromoon at the right scale on a computer screen, so that you can put your arm out at arm's length and cover the right amount of moon with your pinky. And the more I look at it, as I've been looking at it, for the day, I've been seeing, and I know it's the computer, not real life, but I feel like you can see more detail given that extra 14% bigness of the moon.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, I could see a little bit more.
Well,
anyway, so
I'm going to real quick plug the Observer's Handbook, because the Observer's Handbook tells you how close the moon is at any given point in its cycle during the year. And so you can use that to see if you think there's a difference.
Yeah.
Or you can just not read it, take a guess each time that you go out, and see if you were right by checking the Observer's Handbook.
Yeah, because the difference is about 50,000 kilometers, right? So the moon is an average of 380 some thousand kilometers away. And at its closest, it's like 156,000 kilometers. And at its farthest, it's 407,000 kilometers. So you've got that 50,000 kilometer spread, which is 14% difference. So yeah, hypothetically.
Do you ever hear anybody say that if the moon were 10 feet closer, then we'd all be drowned in the oceans by now? They're lying.
Yeah. Anyway, so here we have the full moon. So we're talking about some lunar seas here. Most of these are on the east coast. They're east coasters. No. This
west.
Is west, because we look out west.
Yeah, because we're looking at it. So since we're looking at it the same way, if you looked at the Earth, it's the same northeast, southwest.
Right. Okay.
So west side.
And so they're west side of the tracks. If there were train tracks right across the moon. There's actually I'd get so off topic. That was
Yeah,
actually a proposal.
don't get into colonizing the moon.
I had no. One of the reasons that you would want to do research on, lunar topography is if in the future, if you wanted to go from A to B, would it be better to take your spaceship and hop between two bases, or is it better to drive across or to build a moon train? In which case, this might be on the west side of the tracks.
So
anyway,
so the only thing I'm gonna add to that is that if any job that exists on Earth will someday have a space component to it. So if you want, my brother keeps saying this, he's a wastewater engineer, and someday he hopes to be a space wastewater engineer.
Totally. Okay, so your first thing was
Oceanus Procellarum.
I'm gonna try I was gonna try the Latin before you said it.
Sorry,
anyway,
I'll leave the rest to you.
Ocean of Storms over here. And so this one's quite pronounced and quite big, and right to the left here. I call this the lunar triangle, which is Copernicus, Kepler, and I forget the other one.
The three bright spots.
The three bright spots. And these rays that sort of connect all these craters. So these are ray craters, which means they're like less than a half billion years old, and we can still see the ejecta from their impact. And so this ocean here is largely free of those rays, so it's very dark. So kind of cool. And then you've got the Sea of Clouds here, Nubia.
Nubian.
Is that Nubian?
Close though, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is close to Apollo 16. No, I forget. Anyway, kind of cool. I wish we had a cross-reference map to put the. I love like knowing where they landed. Yeah, where have we been? Because there've been 20, 30 landers on the moon, not humans, but like things with cameras on them or stuff like that. And it's neat to see where they all landed. Yeah. So check that off your list. Very interesting.
It's right. It's the furthest south next to the giant white spot. And that's how I find that one.
Next to Tycho there.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the Sea of Moisture here. Humorum.
Humorum? Yeah.
Sounds like the humorous.
Humorous.
Yeah. And we Googled this one and we couldn't find anything interesting about it except that there's nothing interesting about it. We're like the Wikipedia page on this is like 4 lines. So if anyone wants to do some research and add to that Wikipedia page, it could use it.
It sure could.
But anyway, so these are items to check off the list for Explore the Universe. So get your binoculars out or see if you can see them without binoculars and check them off your list.
I don't know about you guys, but I find the mares the hardest to draw of all of them. I always, whenever I'm drawing mares, I just draw a picture of the big moon and the like shade in the dark spots, and that's it. And I'm like, there we go. Because I find drawing them individually, I find it's hard. I find craters hard too, but so those 3.
I guess depends on your standard of detail.
Yes, that's true. What do you count as good? Yeah. So those are the full moon targets. And as I mentioned, the full moon is on September 30th, October 1st, around there. So you'll be able to see them then. And there was a question in the Q&A from Marie-Claude, which moon day are we coming up to, say, this weekend? So today is Lunar Day 0, and every day after today is one more day in the lunar calendar. So tomorrow will be Lunar Day 1, Saturday will be Lunar Day 2, Sunday will be Lunar Day 3, et cetera, until 2 weeks from now, which is around the 30th and /1st of October. So you can kind of keep track of it that way. I always, whenever I'm trying to plan out my observing sessions, I have a Google Calendar add-in for the phases of the moon to keep track of what's going on when. So that's very helpful as well. I'm going to mention the crater. Oh, well, John's already caught the craters up.
Good, I found it this time.
We have 2 craters, and they can both be seen if you try hard or if you have a telescope on the same day, but you may need to go out one day after the other to see them if you're just using binoculars. And so those 2 craters are we going to start with Poseidonus?
Poseidonus, yeah.
Poseidonius. There's an I in there.
Oh yeah, because that's one of them is like god of the sea or something, which is not this at all.
No, and right, because this is a philosopher, right? Not
the goddess.
So no. I have misspelled this in the past.
No trident.
No trident. I've misspelled this in the past and I've called it Poseidonus, and I apologize to everyone who I have wronged for that. It is Poseidonius. There's an I in there, and I fixed it in the places that are public. So that's in the Google Calendar and the on the website. So Poseidonius is the one.
Yes. Okay. So this one I did call the seashell crater because if you do look at it with a telescope, you have this like pattern on the inside that's really neat to check out. Yeah, the publisher had me come up with nicknames for all of them. You know, most
Even
of them
the
had
ones that don't
nicknames
exist
already, but the ones that didn't exist were like, well, how do we make this interesting to kids? And there you go.
There you are. Marketing.
Yeah. I mean, marketing. But I mean, like I said, the way I wrote this book, I didn't know anything about the moon ahead of time. I just observed it every day for 6 months to a year. And I was like, well, how does this make me feel? What do I think about it? And I was drawing it and photographing it. And then, so that was sort of the genesis of these names that didn't have names before. So,
wow.
Anyway.
So make it a thing, everybody. Call it the seashell crater.
Make it a thing.
So hold on, my trick to finding that one, where's the trick that I have for finding that one, is that one was Poseidonius, and it's north of the prominent mares that you can see. So it's just north of Serenity, the Sea of Serenity.
Yeah, so this is the Sea of Serenity, if you can see my mouse right here. This is this Sea of Tranquility, like there is the Apollo 11 landing site. And, you know, or, I mean, I usually use Mare Crisium as my sort of reference point and, you know, just go out from there. So, you know, you're just sort of going over these mountain range here and, you know, landing at it there. So because hypothetically, let's say you're lunar day 4 and it's still visible, you'll have a prominent crater here, but you won't be able to see this mare. But so you will see.
Right, that makes it trickier, true.
Yeah, so you will see Mare Crisium. You'll see this beautiful mountain range, which if the terminator's here will be very pronounced. And then you'll see this crater, which will be half in shadow because of the crater walls. And so that's sort of what it'll, you know, between day 4 and day 5, what that'll look like. And that's why you can see it in binoculars, is because of the crater walls will be illuminated, but the floor will be black. And so you'll have that contrast.
Yeah, it's helpful. I have a photo to show this as well later if you want, John, but if there's a really prominent crater and you catch it right along the terminator, it interrupts the terminator, which looks like a line, in such a way that you get like a little bubble and then it continues. And that's what makes it so easy to find in binoculars. So you got to get the timing just right to get that bubble on the terminator.
Yeah.
Our next crater
these are my
is your next page.
Yeah.
This one, I think I actually learned this one from you, John, with the dumbbell craters. I think.
Yeah, so this is not the dumbbell. This one is just attached to the dumbbell craters,
yeah.
Right? So I don't know, this for me, even before I became like an amateur astronomer and yet had looked at the moon, I had always known about these sort of 2 craters here. They've always been really prominent for me. I don't know why. But I'm like, oh, look, there's a dumbbell on the moon. And so I'm not sure if anyone else had called it that. I don't remember. But that was what they were always to me. So that's sort of the genesis of that name. And because you can see there's the 2 craters here, Silius and Katrina, and then sort of like a bar in between that completes the dumbbell. And then Theophilus is this slightly more pronounced crater to the north. I always thought that it's the story of some of these craters are actually, you know, fantastic. So Theophilus is probably a philosopher. I don't think I talked much about him here. But Katrina is one of the there's only 28 craters in total named after women. There's only 14 craters named after women on the side of the moon that we can see from Earth.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. This is one of the only probably binocular craters that's named binocular target craters that is named after a woman. The thing is, she probably didn't exist.
What?
Yeah. So the story was this is when, gosh, we're talking, I'm just eyeballing here. So if we think of the history of sort of Rome and Rome's relationship with the Catholic Church, they legalized Christianity. Christianity spread throughout Rome, but there were still a lot of pagans and pagan philosophers and whatnot. And so what happened, or at least in sort of this gray history that's been sort of muddied with by the Roman government, you had a pagan philosopher who was a woman called Hypatia, I believe, and she has a crater named after her as well. So she was a female philosopher that said some things maybe she shouldn't have, and she was killed by a Christian mob. And
Oh,
so the Catholic Church's response is, well, we can forgive them because there was this other saint named Katrina who was killed by a pagan mob 50 years ago.
ah,
And so the history, which is a little bit muddy, is that the Catholic Church or the Roman government invented this to pacify the pagans at the time, or the philosophers. So that's sort of this muddy backstory that has to do with this, the saint that this crater is named after. Anyway, but it's sort of neat that they gave the philosopher Hypatia a crater as well, but it's not as pronounced.
That's so cool.
Anyway.
Yeah. I'm gonna diverge again also on the topic of things on the moon named after women. I believe, oh no, I can't remember the astronaut. I think it was maybe Neil Armstrong. Whoever has a wife named Marilyn. When they were
Jim Lovell.
Lovell, yes, of course. Okay,
Yeah.
it's Lovell. As he flew over one of the mountains, he called it Mount Marilyn. And then he got in a big fight with, or not he personally, but the International Astronomy Union did not allow for that naming because it would lead to other issues. Do you allow the people who eventually go to Mars to name all the things on Mars and like all that sort of stuff? But they caved and they allowed Mount Marilyn to exist in like 2013, like way after you've been there.
2017. So that is, if you've got a telescope, you can see it. So if you look at the Sea of Tranquility here, and you're using a telescope, it's a triangular mountain right about here.
Oh, cool.
And the reason that they nicknamed it Mount Marilyn is because it was a reference point for, or I believe it was a reference point for when they were landing. They would fly over this triangular shaped mountain and it would sort of point or guide them to the Apollo 11 landing site.
Cool, that's super neat.
So that's the backstory there. And yeah, I think it was 2017, the IAU, they changed the name because it had like it was part of another mountain range. And so it was like Peak C, like XX mountain range C.
But they have rules about how you can name them and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
Not a target for Explore the Universe, but still I like it whenever anything on the moon is named after a woman. So
yeah. And I have a map of all it had never been done before. So I made a map and it's on my website.
Good for you.
Hypothetically, we can send that out. And that's all the craters on the near side named after women that you can see with a telescope. So
nice, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's on my website right now, stellarpublishing.space under images or gallery, and you scroll way down and it's there.
All right, I'll see if I can find it. The other thing I wanted to mention when we were talking about, I'm going to steal your screen sharing away from you, John.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Thanks. When we were talking about craters being right along the Terminator, this is upside down because for some reason this guy's website.
No, that's right. That's right side up now.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's right side up. All the words are upside down because I had to flip it. But you can see it's upside down. The word is anyway Theophilus there. And you can see that sort of like generally straight line and then a giant light chunk out of it and then continuing on. So that's what makes it easy to see in binocular targets, and also a giant darker spot coming into the light area of the moon for the crater floor. Okay, on to, that's not the thing I meant to open.
Someone was asking again what the publication was. And so that was my book, 50 Things to See on the Moon.
Self-promo, it's available not on the RASC website, but it's available on Amazon. And then the other two questions that are in the Q&A, I do see you, and I will answer them when we get to first of all, when we get to the double stars, and second of all, when we get to the end, which is a more general question. So I am going to open up Stellarium. John's website URL. John, can you repeat it, please?
Yep, stellarpublishing.space. I'm going to type in here. Yeah, .com was taken, but .space was not. Yeah. I think I spelled that right. Let me add the www, and then maybe we can click on it.
Okay, so I'm going to jump us. I'm going to first of all, I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, okay, it worked.
Tonight, so I'm going to go over the targets that don't have a timeline. Oh, that's a lie. I'm going to tell you about a conjunction that's happening not this weekend.
On the 27th, right?
24th, 25th, I think.
Or are we talking about the same conjunction? I'm talking Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. Which
Yeah,
I'm
it's
looking forward
24th,
to.
25th.
Oh, 24th, 25th. I
Yeah,
shouldn't
so
rely on my memory. I'm getting old.
come on, John, stop spreading misinformation.
I'm getting too old for this.
So yet another conjunction. This happens a lot because, of course, the moon tends to travel, or the moon does travel in a very similar plane to the rest of the planets. And so we have another one of these conjunctions on the 24th and 25th. And the nice part is that it's visible right after sunset. So you don't have to stay up until the middle of the night, which is why I have included Jupiter and Saturn, which are both targets for Explore the Universe, as our targets for this week, because this conjunction helps you see them. It's easy to find. They're going to be the three brightest things that you'll see in the sky. Saturn might be a little bit trickier to find than Jupiter. So that would be this little fella here. Saturn's going to be closer to the east, so closer to sun, where the sun would rise, and Jupiter's going to be closer to the west, where the sun sets. And on the 24th, the moon will be on the western side or the right-hand side. And on the 25th, it'll be on the eastern side or the left-hand side. It makes for nice photos if you want to try your hand at astrophotography. Yeah. If you want to get a head start on International Observe the Moon Night, which is technically speaking the next night, then take your photos then, and then post them the day after. And then also I wanted to mention.
Yeah, can you fast forward through time and see what time that they'll be above the horizon? Because if you want a hint for a way to win astrophotography contests, I don't know if this will actually work, but this is how I would do it. You need to make they need a je ne sais quoi. And so if you just point your camera up and take a picture of the objects in space, that could be less interesting than when you get the conjunction with trees and boats and buildings in the foreground. And so there's lots of interesting things that people do. Like they'll stand up on a hill and hold the moon and have someone hold the moon and then someone go back and take the photo. And so interesting things like that tend to be how to,
Michael Watson, our beloved Brass Board member who posts all of his photos on Flickr, got an amazing shot by using stellarium and wandering the streets of Toronto early in the morning of Saturn and Jupiter on either side of the CN Tower, which was beautiful.
Ooh,
so you could, it was really nice. He ended up somewhere in I think in Kensington Market, around their area, to get the shot. So you can really go to a lot of effort to find those shots. And as John pointed out, it's around 11:30 that they're going to be getting close to the horizon on both days. So that's when 11:30 at night. You won't see it on the eastern horizon when it rises, because it rises before the sun sets. Okay.
Yeah, and a telephoto lens will get the moon. A camera like this. If you've got one of these, it's possible to get the moon with detail and Jupiter's moons to show up, and that would be really cool too.
That is very cool. I do have on the website, and I'll send out the link once we're done, but it's on the same website that we have all of the information, rask.ca/ETU online. I do have the moons listed in order from left to right on both days. So if you can actually, if you can see them, you'll be able to see Ganymede. This is on the 25th, Ganymede, Io, and then, Europa. And then the day before, sorry, hold on. There we go. And the day before, you'll see Io further out to the right of Jupiter, or depending on your telescope view, off to the west. And then you'll see Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, all four on the 24th.
Yeah. So someone's asking, how do you define conjunction? So the technical definition is that they share the same right ascension. So if you were to turn on the equatorial grid, on stellarium, the button at the bottom, you would see those grid lines come up. And the conjunction is technically when they're at the same RA. So that's those lines that are.
So we, whoopsies. Sorry, we can't see.
So that's sort of like longitude.
There.
So that's the official, but conjunction, like in English literature, just means to join, right? So in amateur astronomy talk, it's just when two things are at the same place at around the same time. So that's sort of the vernacular, whereas the official definition, like if you were to set a clock by it, would be that right ascension rule, which is basically longitude, but in space on the celestial sphere.
It's too wishy-washy to just say they're close by. So having them say the same RA, the same right ascension, so the same longitude in the sky or longitude in the sky. Anyway, allows it to have a proper scientific definition. So they are close together in colloquial terms. I'm gonna keep pressing forward if that's okay with you, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The full moon is on the 30th to the 1st. So if you're planning that out, moon's going to be very bright. Mars is getting up in the sky, which is very exciting. That'll be the 30th and the 1st or so.
What's the distance to the moon? Is it, where's the?
Let's see. I can never find it fast enough. Where is it?
Distance from sun, distance. Oh, it's 402. So it's almost a micro moon.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's, I think you call it, now this is, I always blame the media for this. So it's like the media calls it a supermoon or the media calls it a micromoon. I don't know if there's an official definition for that because it's sort of just, you know, an observational thing. But I think within like 10% or something, you give it that name. Like if it's in within 10% of its so apogee would be when the moon is the farthest and perigee would be the closest. So if it's within 10% of that, then yeah, this would be a micromoon. That's pretty close. So that would just be, it would appear smaller than average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm going to jump forward because we are, even though we haven't even told that many personal stories, we're just getting into astronomy stories. We still only have 20 minutes left. And I have to correct myself on my mistakes. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to take us back to, well, that's the wrong direction. I'm going to take us back to.
And then we're going to answer that question later, right?
Which one? The other ones that are in the
binocular magnification.
Yeah, we're answering that at the end.
Yeah, I keep looking. Okay. I don't have any props today. I'm like, where's all my stuff? I usually have binoculars.
Okay, I'm going to correct myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to correct myself. I told you all that New Draco, which was a double star, I told you all that it was over here in the Draco constellation, which it is, and to follow those 2 pointer stars to this star here. That is not New Draco. That is Eta Draco. Thank you to Elsie who noticed this from Nova Scotia, who I know is here today. Thank you, Elsie. I did not notice. I got it wrong. This is the problem with having lots of double stars, is that everything is a double star, very nearly. So that's not the double star we're looking for. 1617 Draco still was accurate. That was in here. But New Draco is actually, can I click from this far away? This one, Kuma. Yay. So to find that star, what I recommend doing is finding the summer triangle and using Altair and Vega to draw a straight line up. This is about 15 degrees here. So that's about the width of your hand, like this, at arm's length. So from your thumb to your pinky finger. So about that distance, and then you'll get to the head of Draco. So this star is one of the 4 corners of the head of Draco. And it forms nearly a right angle with the 2 brightest stars here. And it's also the northwesternmost star. So that one is a double, and you should be able to see it okay in binoculars. It's very tight. So you can see they are really close together here, but they're the same color. Even magnitude, even brightness, they look exactly the same, just really close together.
My dog's making lots of noise here.
Lyra,
I can hear it. Yeah.
We were talking about your constellation just a few minutes ago. So fixing that mistake, my apologies for that. We have 2 double stars. So we've talked to most of the targets that we have this week are at specific points in time, but these, we only have 3 targets that you can see throughout the whole 2 weeks. And 2 of them are double stars, and one is, there we go. One is a deep sky object. So both double stars are in Cygnus this time around, Cygnus being easy to find. We've found Cygnus before. It's in the summer triangle. So that's what Deneb, the star up here, is the tail of the swan. I always get it confused. I always think this is a head, forgetting that swans have giant necks. This is the tail. So
and to be clear, you can see the summer triangle until the end of December, even though it's
yes, actually, in fact, you can see Cygnus until February, which is wild.
Yeah.
Not well, but you can. Okay, so everyone's favorite double. We have Beta Cygni, which is Alberio. This one I got right.
Alberio.
Yay, good old Alberio. I probably should have put this first. This is one of the most famous double stars.
So have you tried this in binoculars, like low magnification binoculars?
I don't think so. No, I think I've only seen this with the telescope.
Okay.
Should I?
I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've ever tried it and been able to split it with binoculars. I don't know.
I think I asked the editor of Sky News to try it, Alendria, and I'm not sure she was able to, because they are really close together. But I mean, theoretically you should be able to.
Yeah. Oh, someone in the chat mentioned that the charcoal sketches of the creators named after women, and I
Yes.
reached out to that person and they helped me with my map.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, just I
Bettina
wanted to make sure I
Forte.
got, yeah.
Mhm.
So thank you, Bettina.
Yes, she's cool. She does, yeah, we're working on getting, we were actually planning on having her help us with a sketching course for you guys, for all y'all, because we're doing sketching in this program, but we haven't gotten a chance to get a hold of her. I need to bug Kareem for things. So we have, here, back on topic, John. We have, we have the Northern Cross, or the body of Cygnus, and its little wings. So if you go from the tail to the body and then all the way to the head, there's a star en route, but we're going to the end star. That's how you find Alberio, easy to find. And the particularly exciting thing with this is that this star has 2 different colors. So it's blue and yellow. I have a hard time with color, but this one I think you really can see that color.
Oh yeah, it's super
easy to see.
Like you'll know when you found, especially in a telescope, you'll know when you found it because it's like it's blue and it's gold. Like it's
very cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in more and you'll see it at all, but like that, your stellarium demo here is not doing it justice. Like it's blue and gold.
I have my stars set up so that they're really big, because I like people to be able to see them. Hold on, this guy. I'll turn him down. So you should, even then they're really not. There you go. So you do see like a little bit of blue, a little bit of gold.
Yeah, I'm not sure why stellarium doesn't like make it more realistic contrast wise. Like they're all more, stellarium has a bias towards white in terms of the stars.
It does.
It's, yeah. Okay.
The next star, John, sorry, I hate to keep cutting you off. Actually, we do still have 15 minutes, but still. It does bias towards white. Okay, so the next double star on the list is Omicron Cygni, which you can find by making a right angle triangle with the tail, the body, and then I believe this is the northernmost wing. So the wing that extends out of the summer triangle. So there's the summer triangle, the wing that goes up. And that, with that triangle, if you go along the hypotenuse, you'll see these 2 stars. And these 2 stars, this is not the one we're looking for. Oh wait, Omicron 2. Oh yeah. Wow, that's the double star. I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, so this one I do like. So this is one of my favorite binocular double star targets. It's really pretty, and the colors to me, when I saw this for the first time, it seemed really pronounced in binoculars. So I would of this 1, 2, 3. This was really pretty. So I got this in Gary Sidonik's binocular, from his binocular highlights book, and I think this is the best target from that book.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Bold words.
Bold words. Well, a lot of the targets in the book are, if you're in light polluted skies, like he's got all the Messier items in there, and they're not realistic, right? But this one, this was the first one when I was going through his book, and I've gone through the whole book. This is the one that stuck out to me the most, and so
okay,
yeah, definitely check it out. Yep.
I haven't tried this one yet. I'll try it tonight.
Yeah, you can't miss it.
This is where I get a bit confused, because I would have said this would be the double star. I know it's not, but this one also, fun fact, eclipsing binary, which means that it's 2 stars switching in front of each other, and so its brightness changes. But I would have thought these 2 would be the double stars, which are different colors, and not these 2, because these 2 seem quite far away from each other. They're like a whole degree away. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked too much into the naming of it. But you know, in terms of like, are the 2 that are really close together gravitationally bound, so like they're binary, and then the 2 ones that are far apart are the double, or what?
So but yeah, this is the strange thing, because these 2 that are far apart are not gravitationally bound. One is at a distance of 1,500 kilometers, or sorry, 1,500 light years, and the other is at 750 light years. So
yeah, it's just, I mean, the notes online are just saying several stars that are close together.
There are lots of stars around here that are close together, which is very cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean,
a pretty target nonetheless.
Yeah, I guess we won't worry about the semantics. Just look at it, and it's very, in binoculars, it's very pronounced and it's very pretty.
Look at it, and it's pretty.
Yeah.
Our last target for this week is a deep sky object, and it's everybody's favorite. And I wish we could have kicked off with this one, but it wasn't up at the time. And that is M31, which is the Andromeda galaxy. It's also really easy to find.
Yeah.
And you can see it without binoculars. You can see it naked eye if you're in dark enough skies. So
did you see my picture of it?
Your picture? Oh, did you post it recently?
I took a picture of it. That was the first, yeah, because I've been photographing this for a long time now, but this is the first time I got a decent photo of it ever. I don't know why. I don't know why it took me
and it looks great.
This long. Yeah. So you talk about it. I'll pull up this photo.
Pull up the picture, yeah. I'll just tell you guys how to find it, which we looked at Cassiopeia last week, or 2 sessions ago, I think, or a session ago. It's really easy to find. It looks like a W in the sky, which makes it pretty easy. And we're going to use the deeper side of the the deeper side of the W. That points directly at the Andromeda galaxy. Wow, it doesn't look like it here, but I swear it does in real life. It goes straight down, points here over to the Andromeda galaxy M31, which is huge. It's actually like it takes up almost your whole binocular field of view. It's incredible. And this is just the core. It actually extends quite a bit further from what you can see here. So beautiful target. It's got a little buddy galaxy next to it, if you can see that one.
Wow, I have the raw image off, like the unprocessed image off my telescope, and it looks good. I can't. Oh, wow. Yeah. You should share this, because this is go share. This is the one that I haven't touched up in Photoshop and adjusted the levels like everyone does. So you can see that it's a couple, it's 20 images stacked and they weren't even aligned. So you can see how, I haven't even cropped it. And so this is like raw. This is right off the telescope. And you can see the dust lanes here. These are satellite galaxies here. This is, I think that's M110 right there. But yeah. And so when most people process it, they turn these dust lanes, just for aesthetics, they turn them blue. And so just to be cool, like all the other cool cats that process this, I have an image where I turn these blue, and I'm like, oh yeah.
It's not because that's cool. That's what's included. Like that's the makeup of the arms.
No, I just think people like to differentiate. They like to have increase the saturation, just because it brings out the detail versus the background sky. And so you just turn up the saturation in this area until that turns sort of blue. And it's just what most people do. So, I mean, this is the raw image off the camera that's not processed. So, yeah. And another thing, like astrophotographers like to do other things, like they usually shrink their stars just to bring out the dust lanes a little more and do other stuff like that. But anyway.
Cool. Quick.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Quick response to Bruce Allison in the Q&A. Can I post the correction to last week's double star? I have posted it already in the list of targets for that week, so it is fixed there. So we are set, and I should change it in the Google Calendar as well, so I'll do that as well. Okay, back to Stellarium to wrap things up, because we are swiftly running out of time. Since we talked about Venus, I did want to mention, although this is outside of our 2-week range, it's actually the day after our next session, which is October 2nd. There is a conjunction of Venus with a bright star in the morning. So we're going to jump to October 2nd. And that is Regulus. It happens again with Venus every 8 years. And you'll have to get up around, well, you don't have to get up at 4, but it starts being visible around 5, I would say. It starts being visible around 5. And that's what this little spot over here is you get Venus next to, Venus next to Regulus. So they're really, really close together, which makes for nice viewing. And if you have the opportunity to look at Venus, especially now, it's got some cool stuff going on, and it is still pretty far away, so you don't get to see much of it. It's quite small. But if you have a powerful enough telescope, you might be able to see the little shadow on it as well. Okay. So that's it for cool things that are happening in the next couple weeks. Again, just a reminder that conjunction is after our next session, but I wanted to let you guys know now, just so that you're aware. If you do want to observe Venus throughout the next 2 weeks, it will be up in the morning. So Venus is just there. You can see it. We're going backwards in time. Now we're going forwards. You can see it approaching Regulus there, but it'll be, yeah, it's up in the sky. Go take a look if you're committed to getting up early in the morning. It makes for a nice view. Okay. Cool. That's all of our targets. A note from the chat, because I missed a bunch of this while I was presenting, that 15 times magnification binoculars can split alberio, but 7 times, based on Francesca's experience, cannot. And so you need to have more powerful binoculars to be able to split them. But you should still be able to at least find the star with 7 by 50s or 7 by, or, you know, binoculars less than 15 times magnification.
Yeah, and it'll look goldish.
Right, because that's the more overpowering star, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, unrelated question about binoculars. If I were to use binoculars with magnification power of 20, would I be able to zoom out and use it at magnification power of 10?
So the binoculars that I have are 10 to 20. So they have a lever on the side.
That's cool. I've never seen binoculars with zoom.
And yeah, so they're the Bushnell zoom binoculars. So there's it's weird because there's a version you can get at Canadian Tire for $80, and they have that thing. They're by Bushnell as well, but they're not they're like a knockoff of the real ones. So the real ones are the quality one. Now I don't know how much of a quality difference there are, but they're about $250 for the good ones, and they're called Bushnell Legacies. And so they've got, and I don't know if it's optics or collimation or what that makes that $150 gap worth your money. But yeah, so that's what those binoculars are. The issue that I have with them is I tend to just use them at the lowest magnification, because with 20 magnification with binoculars, you're jumping all over the place. And at that point, you want a monopod or like a tripod for your binoculars, at which point you might as well get a telescope.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I were to do it again, I like those binoculars, but I would just get the 7s, get the 7 times binoculars.
I mean, a lot of folks
save the high magnification for the telescope. That's just my opinion.
That's fair, yeah. A lot of folks, there are a couple people who really like high power binoculars because it gives you twice the amount of information to your brain, not necessarily in general, but like your brain, we're used to seeing things with 2 eyes. And so having 2 eyes to look at something, especially for kids, that matters a lot. Like kids have a hard time with telescopes a lot of the time because they'll close the wrong eye. They haven't figured out a lot of that stuff at younger kids, especially yet. But some people just really like having the binoculars because it gives them a little bit more detail, or their brain's a little bit more used to it. So
yeah,
some people like it, but yeah, after a higher magnification, you do really need a tripod setup. And Cynthia, a question which I should have answered before, and I'm sorry. When we speak of alberio, are we actually speaking of 2 stars or 4 stars? I think 2, or are they both doubles themselves, 2. John? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 2. I mean, they always could be multi-star systems, but that would just be, you know, it would be spectroscopic. Like the biggest telescopes are only going to see them as 2 stars.
Okay. I'm just going to jump back. I'm jumping back in Stellarium to zoom in a little bit. I don't think they are themselves double stars, but I could be wrong on that. So I think we're speaking of 2 stars, even though it's Alberio is the name I believe they were given before we knew that they were 2 stars. So it's the name that just goes for both of them, and they're technically beta 1 Cygni and beta 2 Cygni for the 2 different stars. All these astronomers and their multiple naming systems. It's crazy.
I guess I have a question for Jupiter. To check it off your list, do you need to see the moons, or do you just need to observe it?
So. I think you just need to observe Jupiter. It doesn't say anything about the moons in the.
So no binoculars. I mean, binoculars will bring out the moons, but.
Yeah, same sort of the way with the constellations, where I mean, you can see elements of the constellations with binoculars, but you can still see them just fine without. And so technically speaking, if you just drew a picture of the conjunction of the moon, Jupiter, and Saturn, that would count as your moon, as your Saturn and Jupiter observations. Yeah. You can also use binoculars because it makes them prettier.
Cool. Well, I think we're at about time.
Yeah, we did it.
I thought this was a great show. I see some thank yous in the comments, so this is great. Hope everyone's enjoying Explore the Universe Online. I know I am, and I look forward to this all 2 weeks.
It's so much fun. I like
Yeah.
this one.
And I did a bunch of observing in the last 2 weeks. So
Oh, good for you.
I have to go through my notes and maybe I'll get the certificate this time.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Okay, well,
I know, yeah.
I'm excited. I haven't observed it all in the past 2 weeks, but the smoke has cleared here and it's absolutely crystal clear, beautiful skies. So I'm going to be observing tonight and seeing if I can get some videos of Mars. We shall see.
Excellent.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody. We will see you all in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Have fun with all of your observing and let us know how it goes, okay?
Bye.
Bye. See you later, John.